All right, everybody, welcome to this webinar. We're going to be started in just a few minutes. I just want to make sure that we've got a sound check here, so just to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. And after that, we will be started here. So I'm just doing a few checks here. Welcome to this webinar. We're going to be talking today about nutrition. We're going to be talking about market updates with crypto and the S&P. And I'm going to give you news and updates in terms of what's going on with my service. So should be a very interesting topic today. So let's just give a few more seconds here to make sure I get everything checked out with the audio, and we'll get started. All right, so trader nutrition, what's that all about? Well, I'm going to tell you a story about a study that was done with twins, and some of the tasks that they were given during this study was trading. And then I'm going to talk to you about my own personal experience. I was an endurance athlete for many years. I ran track and field. I ran up to 15 miles a day. I've tried every single diet known to man. And I'm going to tell you what I do, what has worked for me. And I'm going to point you in a certain direction of a specific diet that makes the most sense based upon everything that I'm going to tell you. Now, obviously, diet and nutrition is a very sensitive topic. The saying that goes, don't ever talk about politics or religion. I would throw a diet in there. People get very upset about their food. They want to eat a certain way. I understand that. All that I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a study of what happened. I'm going to explain to you what I think is an optimal diet, and then I'm going to show you just some recent results that I've had with this, and it should be really interesting. All right, so let's get started here. So we are all good. All right, so moving along here. So first of all, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at shane@wolftraderfutures.com or www.wolftraderfutures.com. Obviously, you're on this YouTube channel here, Wolf Trader Futures. Go ahead and like and subscribe. If you like the video, please go ahead. I know everybody says that, but it really does help the algorithm, helps get the word out about this. So each week we're going to come here and tell you something new. And Twitter is at Wolftrader, FUTU1. And that's how you can reach us on the free Twitter. I would recommend that you sign up for that too. It's free. So here's the agenda for today. There's actually a lot of things going on, more than just the nutrition. So first of all, news and events, which we will cover. There's a lot of new things going on. Frequently asked questions. I'm going to answer questions about some hot symbols for specific indicators that we have. Going to give you an example of the fast Fed break-even example. We had one this week that broke even at a really good spot. And then a concentrated signal example. This is something new, and which I will explain. I'll be explaining it more. Then we'll get to the twin study on nutrition, and we'll talk about the gold standards, brief market update, and questions. So each week we're going to have a little bit of overlap from the last week, but there is new material each week. So just to let you know, if you came last week, this is going to be a different lecture. Just to give you an idea of the overview of what we offer here. We have many different newsletters here. I have an S&P newsletter, metals, energy, currency, cryptocurrency. We have a Uranian letter, which is dealing with Uranian astrology. It's not necessarily about trading, but we talk about different people and personalities. It's super interesting. We have a stock ETF Fed use service. And then all of these together makes up the gold membership. So you can get a bundle on all of these services if you're a gold member. And then the platinum service includes live Twitter trading services, which is the Fast Fed, Easy Timer, the ETFs, Pairs Trader, which we've increased to. We've actually added the yen pound this week, K2, and then all future services grandfathered in. So that's kind of how the structure works here. To give you an idea of different symbols that we cover with the S&P, we cover obviously just the S&P, but metals, copper, gold, silver, platinum, energy, natural gas, oil, heating oil, gasoline. Currencies, US dollar, Canadian dollar, British pound, euro, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, euro dollar. Euro dollar is a new addition. It's doing very well. Crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin. And then we also cover corn in the 10-year. They're not a newsletter, but we do cover that for the gold and the platinum. And then Tesla, gold miners, Caterpillar, Bank of America. So we're adding more symbols to that as we go. Just a quick disclaimer here. trading, and I'm going to read this to you just so you understand the risks involved. Trading commodity futures involves a substantial amount of risk. This past performances are not necessarily indicative of future results, so things can be working in the past and then they can stop working. That's just the nature of it. This is designed to be an educational service that I wrote. I wrote a book with Larry Pesavento called A Trader's Guide to Financial Astrology, and this is an educational service. This is separate from my trading firm, Trading Ridge Analytics. So this is a newsletter service. This is not, I don't manage accounts or anything with Wolftrader, just to let you know. It's independent of any strategies by Trading Ridge Analytics. And the data used in this, the creation of any astrological planetary data is public information. Everybody gets it at the same time. So there's no difference between when people get the information. One warning I do want to give, because the markets are changing on literally on a day-to-day basis. We had a flash crash on gold last Sunday night. They can literally change within seconds. So warning about using fragments. So be very careful about just taking something on a weekend and projecting it out. Okay, it depends upon what's going on from day to day. The Fed information can change from day to day, and I still struggle with this sometimes to keep up with what they're doing, because the Fed is always changing what they're doing. So you'll get gaps of information. So if you just be careful about taking what you hear today, if you're not a member, and pushing it out into the week, because it may change. Okay, this week may be different than last week. And then, like I said, on a daily basis, you get information about the Fed use. Terms of service. The only real terms of service is that you understand the risk. That's why I went over this, even if you're not a member. This is risky stuff. Trading futures is risky stuff, okay? It's risk. There's a severe risk of loss with trading. But the one thing I do want to talk about that is in most terms of service is that we never share information. So most terms of service, when you sign up for something on big tech companies or anything, you're basically saying you can share my information. Banks, big tech, all that stuff. So I never do that. I never sell personal data. I've been approached, I'm getting approached on almost on a weekly basis by people wanting to sell, for me to sell them information, share information. Not going to happen. I don't share your personal data. I never buy personal data. I don't buy lists of leads. I just don't do that. Okay, so each person must physically sign up. So if you want to go to the site, you can go there and sign up. You can get on the mail list. You can sign up for the Twitter, but I'm not going to do that for you. Okay, so there's none of this spam stuff going on, none of this sharing information, nothing. You can unsubscribe at any time. If you unsubscribe, you're not going to start getting emails back again like a robocall or something. Okay, that's not going to happen. Again, my terms of service is that you understand the risk involved. Okay, this is risky stuff. And most of you who have talked to me know that if you're looking to get into more risky vehicles, I'm probably more likely to talk you out of it than to get you to sign up. I want you to understand the risks involved. So that's important. All right, let me get out of the way here for this. I am speaking at the Money Show. I'm going to be talking about how to balance the Fed use with seasonal patterns for metals. And this is timely because for most of the summer, the Fed use seasonals were rising, or sorry, the seasonals were rising, but the Fed use was in a sell, and it warned us something is wrong with gold. I've been saying this. Gold has basically wasted its seasonal pattern. And so I'm going to talk about that in more in depth on the Money Show. We're going to talk about just different scenarios, how you can look at that and understand, is something diverging against it or with it. So it should be interesting. Talk about that. All right, so this is a slide here with news and events. So I know there's a lot of information here. I'm going to go through this step by step. First of all, the Money Show is coming up on August 25th. So August 25th, 1 to 1:30. It's a half-hour presentation. You can sign up for that. It's free. Go over to themoneyshow.com and you can register for that right away. So I'm going to see if I could find that for you, the registration link, and I'll just go ahead and show you the virtual expo there. But it's a virtual expo. This one's online. And anyway, that's the date. So 1 to 1:30. The stock ETF service is running. So this, this has been going for a few weeks. It's going well. This week was kind of choppy, but overall, I think it's going well. Now, this is new. Many of you may not have even heard about this unless you're on the the platinum service. I've been talking about this, but the Fed Use 3.0 is now on a higher resolution. I've figured out how to make the resolution up to 4.44 times stronger. Now, I had been putting that on hold on the S&P, that and the Skynet. We've been focusing on the internals. I will be bringing those back into the S&P, but I want to let things resolve on the S&P first, get back into an equilibrium. Right now, the S&P is completely out of balance. But when we do bring that back on, I'm going to have the Fed use 3.0 back on with a higher resolution. And then the Skynet will run also. So I'm bringing these back, and I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in a way that's not confusing, so you don't see a bunch of arrows on the screen. What you're going to see when they agree, you're going to get a concentrated signal. I'm going to put an asterisk next to the signal that's going to show you when the Fed use 3.0 and the Skynet agree. Okay, so that's coming back. All of the Fed use 3.0s are now at this higher resolution, including the stocks and ETFs, metals, energy, currencies, cryptocurrencies. But for the S&P, I'm going to wait to bring that back until things fall back into equilibrium. Okay, so this is big news. It's very hard to get a higher resolution without catching noise, and I believe I've figured out a way to do this. So you should start to see these Fed use 3.0s get more accurate, and then the Skynet, I'm going to bring it in. And when they agree, I'm going to give you a star on the chart. So you're going to see a star. And I'm going to show you some examples of this. But the challenge is to bring this information in and not make things confusing. Okay, so that's the challenge. So, we'll get into that. Easy timer, we're still running with low drawdown. This week was pretty flat. We're getting a lot of break-even trades. I'm remodeling other systems with break-even, K2 and the fast Fed. I'm going to give an example of the fast Fed. And streaming crypto is coming. I know I talked about this last week, but I have to upgrade my multi-charts version to get this, but soon it is coming. So that means we'll have a longer history for the Fed juice. We're running the 4.44 resolution on the Fed juice, and it did catch the turn on Bitcoin to the day last week. And I believe now we'll be able to have Fed juice for other symbols like Ethereum, Ripple, and Litecoin. So that's coming. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline here, but this was a big deal this week. This was kind of an unexpected breakthrough. I wasn't targeting this, but I was figuring out different ways to optimize the system, different ways to tweak the data, and all of a sudden I figured this out. So the Fed juices should become more accurate now. August newsletters are available. If you want to sign up, you can sign up to the website, wolftraderfutures.com, and you can get a 7-day trial on any of the services. So check it out. All right, so let's get to frequently asked questions now. So frequently asked questions are dealing with, let me get out of the way here so you can see this. So frequently asked question today, what are the hot symbols for the double lunar cycle? So double lunar cycle is a type of a trading system that uses Astro, but it's optimized twice and it's getting very accurate. It's getting very good. So we see this now. These are the hot hands. So I'll show you a few charts of these a little bit later, but the hot hands for the double lunar cycle are gold, silver, corn, Canadian dollar, British pound, euro, and Bitcoin. These are the ones that are modeling the double lunar like really well. I mean, like almost to the day. Like Canadian dollar has been just incredible since we started tracking the double lunar. And again, this is different than any other service. Nobody does this. Most lunar cycles are just echoes of the past, and cycles, they just look into the past and they assume it's going to go into the future. That's not what this is. This is a lunar cycle that's optimized for a look-forward technology. So nobody else is doing this. So this is cutting edge. Frequently asked questions too. What are the hot symbols for the Fed use? So these are the symbols right now that the Fed use is doing very well on: silver, corn, natural gas, euro, dollar. We just added this, but it's trading very well. Gold miners and Tesla. These are the two ETFs that are trading really hot right now. Gold miners has always been trading well, but it's actually modeling better than the gold futures for the Fed juice. What are the hot symbols for the solar cycle? So the solar cycle measures kind of like a seasonal pattern. Okay, so solar cycle measures seasonal patterns. So the hottest symbols for the solar cycle right now are copper, oil, natural gas. So these two are modeling very well. Euro, British pound, euro dollar, and Bitcoin. And I probably would throw the US dollar in there, but these are all, Bitcoin is turning to the day with this solar cycle. It's been incredible. It turned up exactly when the solar cycle turned up, it turned down. So if you're members of these services, these are the symbols that are focusing on the solar cycle. So fast Fed break-even examples. Let me show you an example. So this week we did take a stab at a short on this fast Fed. Now the difference between this and before is that this one will break even at a certain number of bars. So this was the short right here, back here on the 10th, and it went against us and then it comes back, and this is where it broke even. So this is the big deal about this, because it knows that if the trade is not ahead at a certain point, or if it's behind, it gets out. And I talked about this on the market update on Wednesday. I said if this thing is by 10 o'clock in the morning has not turned, get out. If it's not above this 44.30.25, get out. Now I'm showing you an example of a loss here. It's a small loss, but look what would have happened if this wouldn't have got out the break even. So this break even is a huge deal for the fast Fed, because now we can let this thing have these big runs. And so I know when you have a constant surging uptrend like this, it's very hard to get any shorts in, right? So, but what you will see is that when the market gets into a more of an equilibrium, that you're not going to get this. You know, you'll get the shorts will pan out and the longs will pan out. But this is a big deal. When I got this figured out, this is a huge deal. So I got really excited about this, because this trading system is looking like it did back in November, December, January of last year. For those of you who remember last year, this is looking like it was, because I can get the big runs now, but I can also get out with these break evens. So that's a huge deal. And that happened this week, okay? That's an example of what's going on. It doesn't trade that much, but the runs are big. All right, so I mentioned concentrated signals. So this is coming now that I have the Fed use down with that higher resolution, and I'm going to bring the Skynet back at a higher resolution. I'm going to show you when these two symbols concentrate and agree, okay? So I'm going to just briefly talk about this today. We'll talk about it more next week, but this is it. So this is an example here. So bear with me. I'm going to explain to you what this is. I know this looks confusing, but it's really not that much. So this is the Fed use 3.0 that I've been working on. Now, I just figured this out this week in terms of getting that resolution down. So this is why I pulled it off the shelf. The long-term Fed use obviously is still in that big sell signal. The market's running against that, and I still feel nothing has changed on that. This is a dangerous situation in terms of being overextended to the upside. But if you look at these red arrows here, this is a more of a medium term. This is going to be the Fed use 3.0. This is what it looked like with the resolution at the 4x4 resolution. So what that means is that I ran this and I stopped it at the 13th. So I stopped this at the 13th here. I optimized it to the 13th and I let it run out on its own. In other words, this is all out of sample, okay? And so these are what the turns looked like. Now within that, there are smaller signals, which is the Skynet, okay? So when these two agree, I'm going to put an asterisk next to the trade like this. So it's going to be a concentrated signal. So what that means is, for example, if the Fed use is in a buy here, right, and then the Skynet, which is this little arrow, is in a buy here, that's a concentrated buy right there, okay, because they both agree. And then there's your little move up right there. Same thing happens here. The Fed use 3.0 is in a buy, and then this little arrow is in a buy. That's a concentrated buy. So I'm going to put these little stars on the chart to show you when they agree. So that's going to take away the confusion, because before you saw all these arrows and was like, what do I do? What I'm going to do now is just have the Fed use 3.0 on the chart, and I'm going to put a little star next to it when it's a strong day, right? So here's an example here. Here is the Fed use 3.0 goes into a sell, and the Skynet goes into a sell, the little arrow here, right? So that's a star here. That's a star sell here. It's still in a sell here. And so right here, it made money down into here. Okay, same thing when it goes to now, it goes into a buy. Okay, so Fed use 3.0 is in a buy, and then the little arrow goes into a buy here. That's a concentrated buy. That's a concentrated buy there. So from here, it goes up. Okay, when it goes down, Fed use 3.0 is in a sell, get no signal here, but the Fed use 3.0 is in a buy, and or that shouldn't say 716. That should say whatever that is. That was last week. That was, let's see, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Monday, this goes into this buy. And so what happens is it agrees right here. So there's your star buy, there's your star buy. So write those 2 days where then you would have got out here. So that way you're going to get an idea of a concentrated signal. I know it looks complicated now. It's not going to look complicated, because when you see it on the chart, you're just going to see a little star next to it. It's going to be like, that is a concentrated signal, buy or sell. So they're not concentrated right now. Fed use is sell, the 3.0 is a buy. So anyway, the point is these are more medium to short-term signals, but the big term picture still is negative here on the S&P, okay? All right, I'm just touching on that today. That's not the main topic of today, but I wanted to at least let you know that that's coming down the line. And so I think it's going to solve our issue with too many arrows on the chart, okay? All right, twin nutrition studies. So this is what we're going to talk about today. By the way, if you're just joining us, I'm Shane Smoleny from Wolftrader Futures, and this is a weekly update today. We're going to talk about nutrition. If you like the video, if you like the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. It helps us because the minute that this video hits, the minute that we're done streaming, the YouTube algorithm looks at it, and the more likes it sees and the more subscription it sees, the more viewer time it sees, the more it likes it. All right, so this is a study. I'm just going to tell you this is what actually happened. This isn't a nutrition book or a theory. This is what happened. This was a study. It's only 2 people. I understand it's not a perfect study. It's a small sample size. But what happened in this study has been my experience. So this has been my experience with nutrition. Okay. All right. These are 2 guys, 2 doctors. They're going to do a study on sugar versus fat. Okay, sugar versus fat. So they're twins. They're twins. So Chris Van Tulleken and Zand Van Tulleken. Now these 2 guys, I believe I said their last name correctly, but if I didn't, okay, I heard it a few times. Tulleken, Van Tulleken. They're both from Britain. One of them lives in the U.S. One of them lives in Britain, in England. Now in the Britain, they talk a lot about fat being bad for the diet. In the United States, they talk about sugar as being bad for the diet. Okay, so and they're both doctors. So this was really interesting. So they did a study. It's going to be for 30 days. They did this study. The guy from Britain is going to do the lower fat, and the guy from New York is going to do the lower sugar. So here's how they started. Chris Van Tulleken had this guy had a low fat, high carb for 1 month. He started with a body fat of 22%. Notice he's already got a lower body fat, by the way. So that's kind of a hint right there. So he's focusing on low fat. Zand Van Tulleken had a low sugar, high fat, which is what most people see in the United States. They see with all these paleo diets and Atkins diets and all this stuff. 1 month, he started at 26.7% body fat. So by the way, he had more fat to lose. I think that's right away. You got to understand that he's probably going to lose more weight just, from the fact that he's fatter. Okay. All right. So they put him through different stress tests. Okay. So I'm going to get out of the way here so you can see. So the first stress test was high level thinking. They're going to make them trade. These guys are not traders. They're doctors. Okay. So they put him in front of a trading simulator and they said, we're going to give you the same list of stocks, the same simulator, the same everything, and you guys are going to have to make decisions. So he works with this guy, JJ Kenahan from TD Ameritrade. He sets them up on the simulator. You may have seen the simulator on TD Ameritrade. So high-level thinking, okay? I'm not talking about answering the phone or returning an email. I'm talking about things that we do as traders, high-level thinking. This is not saying, oh, I'm alert because I'm not tired. No, this is the ability to think about what you're doing, like higher level order math, higher level order physics, trading. You guys know this is the most stressful, thought-provoking activity you can do. There's so many things going on. You have to pay attention to it, okay? You have to pay attention. You have to remember. You have to be able to make decisions. Now, I want you to remember something here. Your brain runs on glucose. Okay, I'm going to say that again to you. Your brain runs on glucose. It doesn't run on ketones. It can run on ketones, a backup plan, but your preferred energy of your brain is glucose. When you want to do exercise, your body burns fat and glucose or glycogen in your muscles. So I want you to remember this, okay? Now, here's the next thing. You ready? So here's the stress test for trading. Each twin was put on a simulator. Okay, they're put on a simulator. They're identical twins. They're put on the simulator with TD Ameritrade, 1 day of trading. Okay, so here's what they did. Here are the results. All right, here's what happened. Get out of the way so you can see this picture of them being confused. Okay, Chris, the high carb diet, made $800 and he had clear thinking. He was able to make decisions. Okay. Zand, the low carb, high fat diet, made $300. But the main thing was, it's not even that he made less. Okay, he made less. It could have gone the other way. I mean, that's kind of subjective, but he did make less. I mean, on a bad day, Chris could have made less, but the point is he made less. He had trouble thinking. He couldn't figure out what was going on. His memory was compromised. He had confusion and he made errors. This is your low carb guy. And I want you to remember your brain runs on glucose. Doesn't run on ketones, runs on glucose. It can run on ketones. That's a backup system. Doesn't run on, but the point is your preferred fuel, the preferred fuel is glucose. That's why in your blood it's called blood sugar, okay? Blood sugar. All right, next one. This is a scene from Rocky. I love Sylvester Stallone because he's so honest, he's so interesting to talk to. This is a picture of him in Rocky 3 going upside down here. He was sitting upside down in the ring because he wanted to lean up. So I'm going to read you this. So he says, just for fun, a flashback from Rocky 3. Between rounds, I would get lightheaded and quite exhausted. I was on a very high protein diet which did not provide much physical or mental energy. During the period, I only ate very small portions of oatmeal cookies made with brown rice, up to 25 cups of coffee a day, and honey with a couple scoops of tuna fish. Sounds incredible, right? At the time, my body fat got down to 2.9%, which is really dangerous. And while getting smashed by super strong Clubber Lang for 4 months of rehearsal plus the fight tended to wear a person out, I would literally go to the corner between rounds when I wasn't directing and try to get some blood back into my head so I could carry on with the complicated fight choreography. It's funny, I never knew this picture existed. So let me just break this down for you. I've heard Stallone talk about this. Now, he went on this diet, this low carb diet. He said that he could not, the reason he even ate those little cookies was because he could not remember his lines. He could not focus. He had this low carb diet. He has constant brain fog. He would literally go upside down to put blood flow into his head because his brain had no fuel. You can't think when you're doing low carb, okay? It just doesn't work. And I'm not talking about, oh, I'm sitting at my desk and the email came in, I answer the phone, I'm alert. No, I'm talking about doing real thinking, memorizing things, trading, math, physics, real thinking, like that involves intense effort. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm alert and I'm not tired. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When you have to use your brain, you need glucose, okay? It's like saying your car runs on octane. You don't pour salt water in the car. Your car wants octane. That's the preferred fuel, right? So it's the same thing here with your brain. Your brain runs on glucose. Now, he did get a low body fat because he ate low fat too. He just basically ate protein. But I'm going to get into this and I'm going to talk about some more things. Now, the next test here between the twins was dealing with cycling. Okay. Now, they put them both on a bike and they were riding around, and then they were told to accelerate up a hill. And Chris, the high carb diet, he did much better. He blew away the brother on the low carb, and he pulled away on the uphill. Okay, so we got two tasks now. We got a mental task, a stress test. I'm not talking, and again, trading is stressful. Everybody knows this. Thinking and also your health too. But now we're talking about physical. Anytime you want to do an intense activity, and I'm not talking about low-grade activity like walking around. I'm talking about if you need to really dig into some power, your body needs to burn glucose through glycogen. It's just basic biology. It's basic chemistry, laws of thermodynamics. This is how your body works, okay? So the low-carb diet was not able to go up the hill with the brother, okay? So now we have two stress tests now. You have one stress test where the guy can't think. The next stress test, he can't. He's tired all the time, and he can't keep up with the brother on the bike. He can go at a slow pace for a long time, but he can't keep up. By the way, if you're just joining us, we're talking about nutrition for trading. And so this was an example where they talked about nutrition with different traders, and I'm going to talk about nutrition in general here and give you some of my personal experience. Okay, so I'm digging this in. This is a study. It's a two-person study that's not perfect, but this has matched my experience. Okay, like I said, I used to be an endurance athlete, ran up 15 miles a day. All of this is consistent. I tried all the low carb diets. I tried the fasting. I tried all of this stuff. This is all consistent with what I experienced. Low carb, brain fog. Low carb, can't exercise, can't do intense work. I'm not talking about, very, very short bursts like lifting a weight. I'm talking about endurance exercise, okay? When you want to get intense with things, your body needs the glucose. All right, so here's the results with the weight loss. Now, this is interesting. So Chris, the high carb, this was high carb, low fat. He lost 1 kilogram, half pound of muscle, half pound of fat. Zan, the low carb, high fat, remember he had a higher body fat to begin with. He loses 2 kilograms of muscle, 1.5 kilograms of fat. So he lost a little more fat, but they both lost weight. So it was pretty close. So you might say, well, okay, they both lost the weight. Low carb guy lost the weight, couldn't think, couldn't exercise. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting. This is the blood work. First of all, none of their cholesterol changed because they probably had high cholesterol to begin with, and they were both eating meat, so meat has high cholesterol. I don't expect that to change. But this is where you might see this as confusing. The low carb person became pre-diabetic. Let me say that again. The low sugar diet became pre-diabetic. Now, there's plenty of research to suggest this, to suggest that it is animal fats that give you type 2 diabetes. And this has been my experience personally. I've seen people that have gone on these diets and their blood sugar becomes pre-diabetic. So not only can he can't think, he can't exercise, now he's pre-diabetic by doing this diet, this high fat diet, this low carb diet. Okay. There is plenty of research to back this up that this is the cause of type 2 diabetes, that animal fats are something called lipotoxicity, where fats get into your cells and disrupt the ability for insulin to function. Okay? This is consistent with what I have experienced. This is consistent with research on the topic. Okay? So again, high fat diet, poor cognition, poor physical, and now you're type 2 diabetic. Very interesting here. Very consistent with the research too. All right, so going down here, and the reason I'm saying this is because as a trader, first of all, you want to be able to think, you want to have good body composition, but you want your health to be good. You want to be heart attack proof, okay? So what's going on? So the results are not surprising here to me at all, okay? First of all, your brain runs on glucose. That's the preferred energy. Just like I said, your car runs on octane. You don't pour salt water in your gas tank and expect the car to run well, of course. Okay, muscles need glycogen for intense exercise. That's just how it is. That's the basic biology of your body, guys. It's just how it works. You can do low grade activity for a long period of time with a high fat diet, but that's just not what it is. And also, um, evolutionary standpoint is our bodies are not designed to handle high amounts of cholesterol. Okay, like if you look at a dog, their liver can handle more cholesterol. Ours is not designed to do that. There's strong evidence that diabetes is caused by lipotoxicity of animal fat and vegetable oil too. So oils. Okay, so this is the diet that I would recommend here. It's called with my not recommend. It's my favorite diet. You have to go and talk to your doctor and figure out what you want to do. But I'm just going to tell you this is what has worked for me. And again, I've been through all these diets, and this is the McDougall diet. It's called the starch solution. Okay, and this is not talking about eating processed carbs and sugar and crackers and things like that. This is talking about eating potatoes, rice, things like that, pasta, even pasta. Okay, so high starch, low fat, typically it's high energy, high energy thinking, and high exercise. And the thing I like about this is it's sustainable. Okay, because you're getting energy all the time. You're not hungry. It's a very sustainable thing, and you're giving your body what it needs. It needs glucose. Okay, you need starch. And we've been seeing all these books about starch is bad and carbs are bad and insulin makes you all this stuff. Nonsense. I'm going to show you in a minute some different diets, and we're going to look at different authors and what they look like. And I'm going to talk to you about the author of this book, John McDougall. He really goes on the offensive against people, and I'm going to show you some videos that he made. But this is sustainable, and you get into what I call a stable equilibrium. So for those of you who don't know what that means, there's two types of equilibrium, okay? So this is just basic science, physics. So let's say this is a bowl, and there's a ball, and you let the ball go. The ball is going to roll to the bottom of the bowl. It may roll back and forth, but it's going to roll to the bottom there. That's what's called a stable equilibrium. It's there, and it'll tend to keep going back to its equilibrium position, okay? Now, there's something called an unstable equilibrium. If you took a bowl and you turned it upside down and you put a ball at the top of the bowl like this, and you have to balance it there just right to get it to stay at the top of the bowl. That's what we call an unstable equilibrium. And the problem with a lot of these diets that are dealing with the low carb, they're unstable equilibrium because your body goes into this ketosis and you get all the stuff and you can't touch a carb. And if you touch a carb again, your body blows up and you get even fatter. And it's just a whole cycle, right? Because it's an unstable equilibrium. With this diet, with the starch solution, You're basically eating carbs all the time. And so even if you go off the diet for a little bit, you don't really blow up like a balloon. When you go on those low carb diets, if you even veer off it for a little bit, you just, boom, you gain weight like instantly. So it's just this constant watch guard. So this is why I like this diet. But I'm just going to go into this and show you a little bit more about this guy. Now, this guy is controversial, not because of his research, but because of he's outspoken and he's very, this is like the godfather of research on terms of nutrition. I mean, this guy is the real deal, man. He goes back to the 40s and he's found all these studies going back to the 40s and the 50s on nutrition, showing that just even like things like rice, just eating rice cures things like diabetes if you eliminate all the other nutrients. He is like the godfather of research. But he's controversial because he comes out and attacks people. Like he's not, he's not a feel good guy. He makes war. Okay, so I call him a starch warrior. I'm gonna do his chart this month in the Uranian newsletter. He's a Taurus, but he's got a bunch of planets in Aries. So Aries likes to pick fights with people. They like to come out and be combative with people. He's very combative. Okay, this is the McDougall diet. He actually got. Listen to this. This is I go online and I see this guy all the time. He's like, it's like he's losing his mind all the time, right? I'm like, what's the deal with this guy? He's always like freaking, because like once you get it and you understand, oh my God, I can get my life back. I can eat starch. I can lose weight. And I'm going to show you just recently the amount of weight I've lost doing this. You realize why he's feel like he's losing his mind, because it's like it's right in front of you. It's like right in front of you. So he got fired from speaking at this obesity conference. Now, think about this. This is the godfather of research and nutrition. He gets fired at a conference. Why did he get fired? He made a presentation showing fat versus lean authors, and he puts all of these low carb authors on one side and these high fat authors on one side, and then he puts the low fat authors on the other side, and it's like night and day. Like the high fat paleo, Atkins, whatever, they're all fat. They're all overweight. And because we're talking about diet, if you're writing a diet book, you should be thin. You should be healthy, right? And then he puts on the right side, he puts all of the people that follow this diet. Okay. So let me just keep going down here. All right. This guy attacks everybody. When I use the word attack, because he kind of does. He attacks the low carb community all the time, and he attacks vegans. Even the vegans don't like him. And think about this. This guy is basically vegan, but he's basically saying you are not helping the vegan cause by being sick looking and overweight, which a lot of vegans are. Okay, they have that sick look to them and they're overweight. So he's basically saying just because you're a vegan doesn't mean you eat healthy. You can be a vegan and eat oils. You can be a vegan and eat processed foods. So he's kind of unliked, but he's kind of very well respected. And this guy is like, he's like the godfather of research. This is the guy. Okay. All right. So I'm going to write about him in the Uranian newsletter. I'm going to do his chart. It's super interesting. Talking about everything from his combative nature to the groups that he forms. He forms these groups, these weight loss groups. And I will tell you from personal experience, this guy he's on the money. Like I said, I've experienced all these diets. I've done all Mediterranean, all this stuff. This guy is on the money. Okay. All right. So, all right, next topic here. You ready? So I'm going to show you, and by the way, this guy addresses all the proteins and all this stuff. So I know some people, like I said, this is a personal topic. People get crazy about nutrition, but I'm just going to show you, again, I'm showing you the research. I'm showing you what happened, and I'm going to show you what this has done for me. Now, I'm a high energy person. You can tell I like to, like, even everything that I do, I like to be animated, energy. I need energy. If you're on a keto diet, if you're on one of these low carb, you're going to have those keto eyes. They always look like they got hit by a truck and they're kind of low energy. Even these doctors that are talking about fasting and keto, they all look like they got hit by a truck. They don't have high energy, right? Why? Because your body runs on glucose, okay? All right, so I'm going to show you next the slides that this guy made to get kicked out of the weight loss conference. All right, so again, these are not my slides. I'm just going to show you what he put up. This is why he got kicked out. But this is very telling because, again, the more fat you carry on your body, the worse it is. It's worse for disease. It's worse for everything. You can go down the list. It's not good to carry fat on your body, okay? So I'm going to show you, and especially if you're an author of a weight loss book, You should look good, right? So I'm going to show you what he put, why he got kicked out of the obesity conference. Okay, you ready? So I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm just going to show you what he did. And I want you to think about this for a second. These are the authors of some of the biggest weight loss books out there. Okay, you ready? So the first thing he does is he puts a picture of, this is a paleo guy, Lauren Cordain versus Neil Barnard, which is MD. He does a low-fat vegan diet. Look at the difference. Okay, again, this is why he got kicked out. Next one. This is Sally Fallon, meat promoter, versus Pam Popper. Look at the difference. Okay, you can see why he got kicked out of the conference for this. I mean, this is pretty obnoxious, but I think he just feels like, look, at this point, it's like it's obvious. Okay, look at the next one. This is a low carb guru, William Davis, MD. Look at him versus Joel Furman, MD. This is plant foods, low fat. Okay, look at the difference. And again, these are like, you see all these on the news and everything. These are like famous authors. These are not like little known people. Okay, next one. This is a big one because I got on this diet back in the late 90s. I got on the Zone. This is the guy, the author of the Zone, the 40-30-30 diet. I used to do all this stuff. I used to do all the low carb. This is Dr. McDougall over here to the right. Take a look at that. Look at the difference. High fat, low fat. High fat, low fat. High fat, low fat. Okay? Yeah, obvious why he got kicked out of the conference for this, because some of these people were speaking in the conference, and he was going to put this presentation up while they were speaking. There's more. Guys ever heard of the Atkins diet? Remember that Atkins diet? This guy was 60 pounds overweight, and the theory was that when he died, that, I don't know, they said he had such bad heart disease they didn't want to release the findings. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what McDougall was saying, or was alluding to. But look at this guy, huge. Look at Caldwell Esselstyn, thin, low fat, high fat, low fat, high fat. Okay, it's super obvious. Now you will find some people, by the way, some people that do like the keto diet and all this stuff that are lean online. Some of these weightlifters and things like that. But are they doing steroids? Are they doing? I don't know. I mean, everyone that I know that does this low fat, low carb diet, high fat is overweight, unhealthy, and cholesterol. That's the thing. The cholesterol, the pre-diabetes. This is crazy. Here's another one. Okay, this is another example of, this is a paleo guy. This is the paleo diet, super high cholesterol, overweight versus low fat, plant-based. Okay, and again, Dr. McDougall's a little bit different because McDougall's more just like, look, go for the starches. Don't even worry about the vegetable. And then eat some vegetables, but go for the energy. I'm with that, because when you just try to do too many vegetables, you don't have energy. It's like going on a low carb diet. So that's kind of crazy. But I'll go one more here. And again, this is why he was kicked out of the obesity conference, because he makes this presentation pointing this out. But again, here we go again. This is the Zone, the famous Zone diet, the 40-30-30. Look at how overweight he is. This is Dr. McDougall. Look how good he looks. And one thing I want to say too is quality of life. Look, I've listened to so many people from this guy, just testimonials. They did a birthday video on him where it was just 2 hours of testimonials. These people are all living into their 90s, like living a long time on this diet. I can't really say anything about this, but I can tell you every time I've gone on these diets that were, the higher fat diets, you gain weight. Even when you do fish oil capsules, like for health, you gain weight. Fat makes you fat. Okay. And again, I'm showing you pictures. This is why he got kicked out of the weight loss conference, because he was pointing this out. He's like, look, you can do these diets, but you're going to look like this. That's basically what he was saying. Okay. Now, I'm just showing you this because I've been through this for years. I studied, look, I have biomedical master's of science. I'm an engineer. I did running for years. I ran 15 miles a day. I ran competitively in high school, competitively in college, Division I. I've been through every diet known to man. I'm going to tell you, for me, this is the one. This guy is the one. Okay. And in terms of the science and everything behind it. Okay. Now I'm going to show you earlier this summer, I started to gain some weight and I had been down around 200 to, 205, something like that. I'm 6'1". My weight started creeping up. We were eating out, we were eating more, wasn't watching my diet, and my weight hit 220. And I was like, okay, this is not good. I need to do something. So I started thinking back. I'm like, well, I had a lot of success with this guy's diet before, just eating starches, potatoes, pasta, bread, whatever. No fat, low fat pasta. So I said, okay, I'm going to start this. About a month ago, I started this. I'm going to show you a graph next of my personal experience with this. Okay. This is what it looks like. And by the way, my weight was zooming out. It was starting to zoom up. I mean, I zoomed past 210 and it just kept going up. And I was like, wow. And then I hit 220 and I was like, okay, this is out of control. This needs to stop. And keep in mind, when I was racing in college at the University of Texas, I was like a $150. I was like 150. So even 200 for me, it's like, I mean, I look normal, but distance runners look like they're like about to die because they're so skinny. But this is this summer. So I'm going to show you this graph now. This is my weight. So these blue dots are my weight. Okay, my weight, it was going up. You can see here, and it had been trending up for months. Okay, you see these little blips here. I was getting up. I got up to 220, and I hit it. I hit 218 here back into June, and then I hit 220. I was like, wow, this is not going to stop. I'm going to keep going up to like 230 next. This is really bad. I don't want to be like that anymore. So I said, I'm going to go back. I talked to my wife. I said, I'm either going to do like Nutrisystem. I did that before I had success with it because it's just like a strict diet. Calorie control works. It's just hard to do. So I said, or I'm going to go back to the McDougall diet. So I start this McDougall diet and my weight just starts dropping. These are the blue dots here of my weight. And this is now in August, weighing in at about 208. So I've lost almost about 12 pounds. This, for those of you who are traders out there who like this geeky trader stuff, this orange line here, this is my 7-day moving average of my weight. Guys, I'm not hungry. My moods are good. I have high energy. I can think. Just my thinking alone, I sit down and I eat baked potato or I eat, whatever it is, or sweet potato or starches. My energy level, it can go for hours doing high level thinking, no cravings, nothing. Okay, high energy, exercise. I value endurance. Like a lot of these people, when you see paleo people, they're like, oh, I just want to get big and muscle. That's not my goal. I want high energy. I want to interact with people. I want to be able to do endurance exercise. I might want to go exercise for an hour. I want energy. Like that's my goal, my personal goal. Okay, so, but look at this, just consistently going down. So I think I'm going to zoom down to 195 without a problem. And I don't feel like I'm like, oh my God, I have to get off the diet. Oh my God, it's 2 weeks here. It's been 4 weeks. No, I'm just like, no, I got potatoes down in the pressure cooker right now. I'm going to go eat those after this. So it's like, it makes the most sense to me because this is what your body, guys, your brain runs on glucose, your muscles store glycogen. This is how it's supposed to be. You have starch receptors on your tongue. Your liver's not designed to process all that cholesterol that you see in all of these low carb, high fat, high protein diets. I mean, we can process some cholesterol, but like take animals like dogs and cats, they can process a lot of it because they're carnivores. We're not. We can eat meat, but I'm just saying, this is my experience. I'm just sharing with you my experience. Take with it what you want. I'm just showing you my weight's down. And then the other thing is too, when you're talking about high stress activities, you want to be heart attack proof. Exercising, all this stuff is it's great. But I just saw a video the other day about a Ironman triathlete had a freaking heart attack during his triathlon. Now that's a little bit of an extreme example because those types of activities aren't good for you. Like when you get up to like marathon running, that's like not, it's like just as bad as being sedentary for your heart. But if you're eating a high fat diet, you can exercise all you want, you can still get a heart attack. So I'm talking to us as traders. We are in a high stress situation, especially if you're in a pit or if you're on the New York Stock Exchange or something like that. If you get your cholesterol down below a certain level, you're pretty much heart attack proof. It's very hard for you to get heart attacks when your cholesterol starts dropping below 150, 140. Okay. So there's so many reasons to consider this, but I'm just showing you, look, I fully expect to get down to 195. So I got a question here. How many cups of coffee do you consume? Well, I've pretty much converted over to green tea, matcha tea during the day. That's interesting. Coffee, if you take the sugar out of it, like creamers and stuff, In theory, it's not too bad, but I've gone to green tea. So green tea has protective qualities, has antioxidants in it. I like it because you can put a non-sugar sweetener. By the way, I don't put sugars in things. I don't put, uh, I don't eat sugar, like high sugar things. Even if I have pancakes or something, I put low sugar syrup. Okay, I'm going to show you in a minute the foods that I eat. But I drink green tea during the day. No sugar in it. Okay, it gives me good focus too, and maybe 2 or 3 cups of green tea. Green tea also promotes weight loss. But if you get on this type of a diet and you get your cholesterol down, you get your blood sugar in line, get your weight off, even your organs, guys, even if you can't see your organs, there's fat on your organs. Even like people, like that's the dangerous thing when you have fat on your organs, that will kill you. That promotes all kinds of disease. This is the type of diet that will take it off you. And I'm just telling you, it works for me. And by the way, it works, and you're not going to have to deal with the high cholesterol. You're not going to have to deal with all of these other issues that come with these other diets. And there's just tons and tons of research on this to show that this is the case. And I'll come back and show you again. I think I'm going to get to 195. That's what I think. I think I'm going to settle in at about 195 because I don't run 10 or 15 miles a day anymore. But look, I went out. Look, I'll give you another anecdotal story. We have a storm coming, right? Fred, tropical depression Fred. I thought one might be a storm. So I had to go out and trim trees, right, in my yard. Out there with the saw, 5 hours of this. And nothing. I was fine. I just had a big starch meal before. I had rice. I had corn. I ate some kale, potatoes. Boom. Nothing. No soreness, nothing. No inflammation. That's the other thing. Aches and pains go away on this. So anyway. All right, so a couple more slides on the nutrition, then we'll get back to the trading stuff. But my recent experience with this, just recently with the McDougall, and I've done this before, steady weight loss, steady eating. This is the thing too. I'm like anti-fasting. Like if you go on the weekend and you have a big meal, I can understand you don't want to eat for 12 hours or 14 or whatever, 16 hours. But I'm just going to tell you, my personal experience with fasting, I got sick all the time. My immune system dropped, and it's a yo-yo thing. I like to do steady eating. And with all this weight loss that I just showed you, steady eating, even late at night. If I'm working at 10 o'clock, I'm going to go get a potato, eat a potato. Okay, high energy, high focus, hours and hours of work. You guys can see I have energy because I'm giving my body energy, guys. This is what your body is meant to work with. So the other thing here is a sense of well-being. So when you have carbs, you have more serotonin release. When you have low carb, you're hangry, you're irritable, blah, blah, blah. You have a sense of well-being. And I did very little exercise during this. So except for the other few days, that's the other interesting thing, that if you can master weight loss without exercise, that when you do the exercise, you're going to be even thinner. And I'm not hungry. Like, I'm not hungry. If I'm hungry, I just go eat whatever, carbs, banana, whatever, low fat. So I'm just telling you, this is what's worked for me. Last slide here. This is a slide of some of the foods that I've been eating, the recent starch. So white potato, sweet potato, white rice, yellow rice, pasta, pancakes, bread, blueberries, bananas, corn, beans, kale, almond milk, no oils. So you get used to it. It takes your taste buds a while to change, but this is a fast track diet for low cholesterol, healthy blood sugar, high energy, longevity, anti-disease, antibody fat. You go down the list. High mental focus. This is it. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you. I know this is off the topic of trading, but I'm trying to give you guys something a little bit different each week, and this is what I'm going to give you guys this week. And this is good stuff. Oatmeal. Some people like oatmeal. I personally don't because it's a little bit acidic, but oatmeal's fine. Oatmeal is about 15% fat, by the way. So you still are getting fat. Even with oatmeal, you get 15% fat. All right, so back to the trading. Let's talk about our gold standards. So gold standards, everything is about simplification. Everything that I'm doing here, if I come up with a new idea, I'm trying to bring it back to simplify. So when you get people that are really good at things, they've simplified what they've done. And so that's what I'm trying to do here, is to simplify everything for you guys. So the S&P gold standards are the Fed use internals, the double optimized lunar and the optimized Bradley. And You are, I'm going to answer a question here. You are welcome. And I feel very strongly about this nutrition stuff because I feel like it's important for people to understand, the reality of this, follow what's going on with the science because there's so much nonsense out there. When you get on these low carb diets, I fell into that trap for years. I mean, I was like the biggest anti-carb guy after my 20s. And, you get on the scale and you lose weight and it's water weight and oh my God, this stuff works and the carbs and you eat a little bit of pizza and your weight blows up. And no, it's, this is the way. And I did all this with high carbs. So can you imagine if I did a few days of low carb, I would drop another 5 pounds quickly, but it would just be water. I'm losing body fat, but that's just an example. Anyway, so here's the S&P. So S&P right now, Fed internals are the blue arrow, double lunar, green, optimized Bradley, pink. And then the other symbols, the Fed use 3.0 with the double optimized lunar cycle. These are the two that we follow. This is an example of natural gas. Natural gas has been performing very well. And again, we cover over 25 symbols here, guys. This is just one of them I'm picking out. But the Fed use here, this isn't the red here. You can see 715 goes into this buy, 730 the sell. It's been tracking this very nicely. And then you see this double lunar here has been tracking this extremely well too. These double lunar signals, by the way, are given out at the beginning of the month. These are given out in the newsletter. So none of this is all like pre-published information. Fed use ETFs. So the service, so you guys know, it's based on a daily Fed use signal. The signals are updated daily on the website. And I'll kind of zip through this just to kind of give you the update here. I focus on the most liquid symbols. We have upgraded this now to the 4 times resolutions. It's 4 times 4 for the resolution that it was. These are long, short signals always in, and we're assuming $10,000 per symbol. Getting here on gold miners. Gold miners has been tracking gold better than the gold futures. This was what I was talking about here this whole time, that the Fed juice was in a sell. It did not want to go up while the seasonals were climbing, and I was like, this is something's wrong. Gold should have been climbing very high here during these seasonals. And there's been some very interesting data that came out. The PPI numbers were really, really high. The consumer sentiment dropped. So maybe gold is warning of some type of an early deflationary spiral coming out of all of this inflation, because you can get into some type of an economic stall. That's why they're trying to pass this infrastructure bill to keep the spending going. But this is a problem because gold was supposed to be going up. Now, I think gold's going to try to go up till the seasonal high, but we're coming up to a major high seasonal. All kinds of cycles are hitting highs at just a little bit of time at the end of this month. So gold's in trouble. At least right now, that's what it looks like. This is a profit curve of the gold miners. It's been the best one. This is Apple. Apple started out with this really big run. It's currently in a sell, and we're getting all kinds of strange. This looks like it's trying to break out. This looks like a flag consolidation, like a wave 4 or something. But who knows at this point? Because the way that this market is so unstable with what's going on with the Fed, I'm suspect of everything at this point. So I don't really know if that's a true breakout. It's still in a sell on the Fed juice. So I think that's the interesting thing. Here's Tesla. This was one of the other best symbols that we follow. The Fed juice has been tracking this very well. It's still in a sell here too. Pretty much on Friday, everything was in a sell still on this. Broadcom still in a sell. Caterpillar's in a sell. So Bank of America is in a sell. So pretty much everything right now is in a sell. I think Bank of America, by the way, is going to end up being one of the best symbols. I really do. There was a glitch here on 8.6. It was supposed to go into a buy the day before, but the computer gave me glitch data. So this really went into this buy here, but I have to put on the chart whatever I post, so I can't change it. That's what it was. So 8.6. But the point is, this is in a sell too. I think your juggernauts are going to be gold miners, Apple, Tesla, and Bank of America so far. So yeah, Fed, I'm reading some comments here. Fed can't afford to pull back. Or yeah, the Fed is already pulling back, by the way. I'm just going to let you know that. So that's the scary thing about what's going on. Markets are in trouble. We'll get into that. Service, if you guys want to sign up for the ETF service, there's still plenty of time. I'm still in the process of building this portfolio. Once we get to about October, the rates will go up. But right now, they're still running at about $59 a month for non-members, and then $49 a month if you're a member. So there's plenty of time on this. It's not like a rush, like you have to, rush in and take advantage of this. But in a couple of months, it will go up, probably in late October. I will let you know, and I'm going to keep showing you each week how these are doing. They're doing okay. I mean, they're making money. Broadcom is the one that's just kind of going sideways right now. But now that I have the new 4x4 resolution, I think these are going to do better. So I'll keep you posted. All right, so very quickly here, I know this is getting long because we talked about nutrition this whole time, but S&P summary. Um, the internals are still in a sell. The S&P is running against the internals. Now, I showed you earlier in that chart about talking about the concentrated signals. I am going to bring that Fed Use 3.0 back to the S&P, which is a medium-term signal. But I want to let things resolve right now. We are way out of balance on the S&P. It's running against the internals. The fear and greed's running against price, and August is a negative month. So there's just no way around this. This is a scary situation because the Fed is pulling back and because this thing is still creeping higher. And I showed this last week, but every single time that on a weekly time frame that the Fed has pulled back, the market has declined. This is back in 2011. This is in 2012. Fed pulls back, market declines. Fed continues to pull back, market tries to go up, market still declines. There's no exceptions to this. So this is why I'm still sticking to this in terms of on this longer term forecast. I'm very concerned about what's going on right now. This is 2018. This was the temper tantrum. The Fed was pulling back. Eventually the markets did collapse. This one took a while to show up, right? Did go on for a few months. But back here into 2020, when the Fed was pulling back right before the election, it showed up in the markets here. It stalled. We have a very sharp pullback right now going on the weekly time frame. This is not a daily. This is a weekly. I believe this is going to show up, and at least shows up for a couple of months. The only thing that I would see here is that if the Fed tries to ranch this back up, then it could go up. But I don't think I think the Fed is pulling back for a reason. I think they might be worried about inflation. I don't know, but I do know that this is a dangerous setup right now. It's very, very dangerous. And we're getting up into RSI levels. The RSI and the S&P likes to reverse around 84. It's up around 80 right now. So on that long-term forecast, I got to stick with that because I've never seen a different outcome on this since 2009. So it may not show up next week or the next week, but if the Fed keeps doing this, it's going to resolve. This is a chart. This is interesting. Let me talk about this chart. These are market highs. This is the S&P here. Let me see if I can draw on this one here just so you can see it. This is the S&P here. So S&P's, this is a high here. This is Apple. Every time the S&P has been making highs, Apple has diverged first. And then it's noted by this divergence indicator down here. So every time this crosses down, the market tends to follow it later. Even if the market's going up for a little bit longer. If you see in this situation here on May the 3rd, this divergence happens here. Okay, and S&P still keeps trying to go up for a little bit. You see this, it still keeps trying to creep up here, but Apple starts falling, and then eventually the S&P goes into this corrective period into here. Okay, so this pretty much happens, even going back into the September, same thing happened here. You can see that Apple was falling first, and then we get this corrective pattern. But what we see now, this is interesting because we had a false cross here. We had a cross down here, and then it crosses back up. So that's what I said on that Apple chart. It kind of looked like it's posturing to break out. So this chart became a little more muddled, but I think near market highs, stuff is not really clear. S&P is still trying to go up. Apple was going down. It did have that one day that it popped up, but we'll see. It did cross back up here. So this chart is somewhat muddled now. It's not as clear as it was, but that's just more of an anecdotal chart where I just use that as kind of like background information. So that's kind of waffling around right now, but that's not the one that I care about. This is the one that I care about, and this one's in deep trouble. This is on the weekly time frame. So it's been taking a long time for this to develop. Now, I don't know why this is holding up as long as it is, but we've seen in the past that this can go on for weeks before it resolves. Now, notice that the trend before the Fed pulls back here, I just want to show you something here. put this into context, we were on this this very strong trajectory. This is what it was looking like. It looked, and then it looked like it was going to keep going even more like this, right? It looked like it was getting ready to go into this hyperbolic situation, and then the Fed shuts it down. So what happens? First it falls, and then it comes back up. But look at how much weaker this is than the original trajectory. So it did slow it down, and I do believe this will resolve, and not in a good way. If they keep doing this, are turning things back down again. Uh, the only saving grace on this is if the Fed decides to just turn this right back up, and then you would see the markets go right back up again. But I don't see evidence of that yet, and I'm going off of the data, just like the weight loss book, just like all the other stuff I was showing you. This is the data. This is what we have to look at. And every time it's done this, it has resolved poorly for the S&P. So again, on the long term, I still think this is a dangerous situation. Now, is there another stimulus that could have come in? Sure. The government's writing out checks for child tax credits, all this other stuff that is coming. Maybe that's holding things up a little bit. But ultimately, it's the Fed that runs the show, and whatever the Fed wants, they typically tend to achieve that outcome with the markets. So that's just where we are now. I am going to bring that Fed Juice 3.0 back into the picture just to go back and show you for those of you just joining us. By the way, if you're just joining us, please like and subscribe to the channel, because the minute that we end the stream, YouTube is going to see the amount of viewers, the amount of likes, all this stuff, and it's going to help us. But regardless, we're still going to be here every week to help you guys out. So this was the chart. I was not this one. This one, which was talking about the Fed Juice 3.0. The medium-term signals will come back, but what I want to do right now is I just want to let this resolve, because things are so far out of whack right now that I just think this is a really dangerous situation. So I think the Fed has slowed it down for sure. You can see that trend line slowed down. It's creeping higher. It's posturing like it wants to do a breakout, but I've never seen it do that without the Fed since 2009, so I'm not convinced it can do it. At least on the long term. But the problem is these divergences can hang around for a while, and so that's the situation. So that's just what it is. Typically, every time before when it's changed, it has turned relatively quickly. This time it's not turning quickly, but it brings me concern when I see this, because I've followed all these patterns going back to 2009, and this has never ended well. So I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens, but I'm just going to continue with this. And if the data changes, guys, I know it would suck if the Fed goes back into a buy. I will tell you if the Fed goes back into a buy, but so far, that's not what they're doing. So I'm just following what they're doing. I'm letting the charts tell me what's going on. I know the tape is still drifting higher here on the S&P, but based upon what the Fed is doing, this stuff has never ended up well. So I know this is getting long, guys, so let me just keep going here. I'll go into metals real quick. Metals have been lagging. I said this before. I said this last week. It wasted the positive seasonal. The gold Fed juice got turned upside down this week, guys. This stuff, nothing is perfect with these indicators, but I think the new 4 times 4 resolution, I think it will dramatically improve this. Possible near-term bounce, I think, for a little bit longer, but then we're coming into a major seasonal high. What does that mean when the markets are going down into a seasonal high? That can be a very negative sign to the future. That can project problems. It doesn't have to be that way, but oftentimes when you are dropping into a rising seasonal, and then when it turns lower, a lot of times it turns even lower. So I would be concerned about the yellow metal here on the long term. So yeah, there's just not much to say here. The solar cycle is going up, and this this is still dropping. So very quickly on Bitcoin, a couple of things here. Number one, I talked about Bitcoin following the seasonal pattern very well before. You can see here on Bitcoin, this is the seasonal pattern up here, and it has followed it almost to the T. This is, the solar cycle showed this big drop back into May, and Bitcoin had that big collapse back into May, right? So it followed the solar cycle. Now notice here that on the solar cycle drops here, and then the solar cycle starts going up like this. Notice Bitcoin follows the solar cycle up. So that's what I said, that Bitcoin has the hot hand right now with the solar cycle, and it has the hot hand with the double lunar cycle. Okay. So yeah, so we're coming into a drop here. So I would be concerned about Bitcoin right now, just because this new Fed juice here, which is, I say new, it's just a higher resolution, did catch this high here, and the seasonals are turning lower. So I don't know. I just think that I would be a little cautious here with Bitcoin. The one thing I would say about Bitcoin, other than any other commodity, is because it's new, it can there's not as much data to draw from, right? So it can show us new surprises here and there that other commodity symbols don't. But for the most part, look, I think this new Fed juice here with the resolution is a big improvement. It did catch this turn here. The solar cycle is falling. So, Bitcoin it could still have one more push lower, but I still think it's very positive that it came off like that. It came off the lows like that. So maybe it tries to do a double bottom. We will see. Um, all right, so getting here. So astro inversion. So I've been toying around with this, but just to show you on the S&P, um, this is still in a sell. This still stayed in a sell too. So this is really strange that we're getting this drift up pattern, but this is still in a sell for whatever it's worth. It's just something we're monitoring. I think this is the holy grail of cycle analysis, because if you can understand when cycles invert, then you can really gain the upper hand, because sometimes these cycles invert, like a low becomes a high becomes a low. So we're working on it. I'll keep you guys posted for sure. Uh, there's a lot of stuff going on here, right? So that's why it's important to come here every week and see the update. Just to remind you guys again, if you're just joining us, um, this is the summary of the services that we offer. We have many different newsletters: S&P newsletter, metals, energy, currency, cryptocurrency, Uranian newsletter, which is astrology based, but again, it's super interesting. These charts show up with like a crystalline structure with the midpoints. It's incredible. I did a lot of write-ups on Olympians last month. A lot of the stuff came to pass. They all have similar patterns in their charts. This month I'm going to talk about McDougall, and I am going to put some other charts in there too. But then we have the stock ETF service, which is that Fed juice that we looked at. All of this is the gold package, and then the platinum package is pretty much all of this plus live trading services, live trade boards throughout the day, pairs trader. By the way, I did add the yen pound pairs trade this week, so that's new. That's on the scene with the pairs trade over here. Uh, so we just have a lot of different services here. If you want the whole package, that's what it is. By the way, these rates are lifetime locked. So if you sign up now for that stock and ETF package, you're getting a really good deal, because it's going to go up in October. So this is the time to lock in that rate. So the reason why these services go up across time is because I add more features, add more systems, add more signals. Like the original newsletter was meant to be a once a month, and then it turned into a daily service. So all of these are daily services that they're updated daily. So that's why, more service, more value, the prices go up through time. But if you lock in that rate, that's what your rate is for life. So we'll stop off here, and I'll say thank you so much for coming, guys. I know this was a little bit of a different topic today, but if you need to contact me, you can reach me, Shane, at wolftraderfutures.com, www.wolftraderfutures.com, or fedjuice.net. We also have fedjuice.com if you want to check that out too. Wolf Trader Futures is the YouTube, Twitter, at Wolftrader FUTU1 down here. And then Wolftrader1 is for the platinum members. Stock Twits, Facebook. You can find us in many different places. So if you guys have any questions, now would be the time to ask. And it could be about nutrition, it could be about stocks, it could be about whatever. This is the time to ask, and that's basically it here. So I'll give a few more minutes here to ask questions. And again, just going back to what we talked about today, just to summarize what we talked about. Let's do a little summary here. That's the right way to close this out. We talked about the news and events. So the news and events are the money show is on August 25th from 1 o'clock to 1:30. The new stock ETF service is running. The Fedjuice 3.0 now has the 4.44 times the resolution. It is coming back to the S&P, but I want to wait until this divergence resolves. We'll have concentrated signals. The easy timers here with low drawdown. We talked about the break even on the fast Fed. Streaming crypto is coming. We're going to have more symbols, more Fed juice, and then those August newsletters are available. So those were the events we talked about. Frequently asked questions, uh, the fast Fed example, the twin nutrition. We talked today about nutrition, how it affects your ability to think, how it affects your physical activity, how it affects your type 2 diabetes level, all this stuff. We talked about this today. Uh, we talked about the gold standards. We did the market update on the S&P. We did a market update briefly on gold, briefly on Bitcoin, and then any questions that you guys have. So let's see. Here's a question from Xavier. How does the Fed juice work in relation to Bitcoin? Is it liquidity that they're providing to the market or direct buying? Um, so that's an interesting question. Bitcoin is more of an indirect effect, but it does model. Bitcoin is an indirect effect. So when you're talking about Bitcoin, uh, all of the, so think about like a tidal force of the moon. So I don't know if any of you guys live up in the Northeast, but up in the Northeast, United States, like in New York and in Maine, you have these huge tidal ranges, right? Like the Bay of Fundy in Maine, like there's just 20-foot ranges, 25-foot ranges. Down here in South Florida, the range might be 2 or 3 feet. So the further away you get from the north, the lower the tides are. So that's kind of how the Fed use works. On the S&P, it's a very direct effect, very direct with what the Fed is doing. So it's kind of like the tides up in Maine and New York and all these northern states. Tides are huge, right? The effect of the Fed is huge on the S&P. It's there, but it's a little bit less on other symbols, gold, Bitcoin, all these other symbols. It affects it. There's a tidal effect, a tidal force that affects all of the symbols based upon what the Fed is doing. So that's more of an indirect effect. I doubt the Fed is buying Bitcoin. I don't, my view on it is that they're probably just using Bitcoin to create their own digital currency in the future. They probably don't like Bitcoin, but who knows? I don't have any evidence that they're buying Bitcoin, but I can measure the effects of what the Fed is doing and how the Fed operations affect Bitcoin. And we can see that in the chart with the new resolution that this has been uh, an improvement. You can see they caught that turn there in 811. So I think with the new resolution that we have here, it's definitely going to help the situation out with Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin's going to get better and better. Now that I have the streaming data, we're going to have more information. It's just when you have something that's new, it's a little more, I guess I'll use the word mysterious to figure out. So, but we're working on it, guys. I'm working on this every day to try to get this a little cleaner. And each week I'll give you the updates on this. So, all right, guys. So I think I'm going to conclude this webinar. I thank everybody so much for coming. And if there's any last minute questions, let me answer them now. But thank you so much for coming, guys. And we will see you